Good morning to all. I'm Himanshu Srivastava. Today we'll study the chapter The Tsunami. This video includes line-wise explanation of the story, summary, short answer type questions, and long answer type questions. So let's start with the story. A tsunami is a very large and powerful wave caused by earthquakes under the sea. On 26 December 2004, it hit Thailand and other parts of India such as Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Tamil Nadu coast. Here are some stories of courage and survival. Now, here line wise explanation is given. A word archipelago means a group of many islands and the surrounding sea. Cooperative society means a cooperative society is an autonomous association. So, the lesson begins with the narratives of people in the Andaman and Nicobar group of islands when it was hit by a tsunami on December 26, 2004. First is the account of a manager of the cooperative society in Cachel, one of the islands at Nicobar. His name was Ignatius. At around 6 in the morning, his wife felt an earthquake and she woke him up immediately. Ignatius kept the television set on the floor to prevent it from breaking by falling off the table. Then they immediately leave the house. As soon as the earthquake came to rest, the sea began to rise. Out of sea disorder and confusion, two of his children held hands with their mother's father and mother's brother. They ran to save themselves from the wave, but unfortunately, Ignatius could never see them again. Means they were taken by the sea waves. The waves swallowed his wife also. In the end, only he and his three children who stayed with him could be saved. So this was the first incident. Tremor means a slight shake. Chaos means complete disorder. Now coming to the next incident, Sanjeev. He was a policeman in Kachil, managed to save himself and his wife. He had a wife and a baby daughter, but he saw the wife of his guest house cook, John, crying for help. So he jumped into the water to save her. But unfortunately, both of them were taken away by the water. The waves also took along with them a 13-year-old teenager named Meghna and her parents with 77 more people. It turned out that Meghna managed to stay alive by holding onto a wooden door. She kept floating in the water for 2 days, and during those 2 days, she noticed the relief helicopters at least 11 times, but unfortunately, they could not detect her. She was finally carried to the seashore by a wave. She was found only when she was walking at shore in complete confusion and shock. Means this was the first incident for third person with whom the incident had happened. Next, about a 10-year-old Alma Javed's father who owned a petrol pump in Port Blair. There she studied at the Carmel convent. The family had come to her mother's home in the Nancowry Island, an island in the central part of the Nicobar Islands, to celebrate Christmas. On the day of the disaster, the whole family was sleeping when tremors came early in the morning. It was only when Alma's father saw the sea water move back, he understood that the sea wave would come back with her unusual great force. He immediately woke everyone up and hurried them to a secure place out of harm's way. So he took. As they ran out of harm's way, Alma's grandfather got hit by something and he fell down. In an attempt to give him a hand, Alma's father ran towards him, means to help Alma's grandfather. As the first enormous wave came, it took both of them with it. On the other hand, Alma's mother and aunts held on to the leaves of a coconut tree, calling for her. But a strong wave came and took them with it too, as it uprooted the tree out of the ground. Means her mother and aunts both were taken away by the sea wave. Almas climbed on a log of wood she saw before she fainted. As she regained consciousness, when she regained consciousness, she found herself in a hospital in Kamorta, an island in Nicobar. The girl was brought to Port Blair and she is deeply shocked by the incident. She got distressed to the extent that she did not want to discuss the episode with anyone. Means she had lost many members of her family, almost all members of the family. Now, next incident, next case that has happened with a girl, British schoolgirl named Tilly Smith. She was able to save many lives when the tsunami struck Phuket beach in Thailand. Though she has won a number of awards, her parents have not allowed their daughter to be interviewed on television and made into a heroine. Now, here is a story from Thailand. The Smith family from southeast England were celebrating Christmas at a beach resort in southern Thailand. Tilly Smith was a 10-year-old schoolgirl. Her sister was 7 years old. Their parents were Penny and Colin Smith. It was 26 December 2004. Deadly tsunami waves were already on their way. They had been triggered by a massive earthquake of northern Sumatra earlier that morning. The water was swelling and kept coming in. Her mother said the beach was getting smaller and smaller. I didn't know what was happening. Means she is telling that she was unable to understand. Okay. Tilly, on the other hand, knew that something was wrong. Tilly had understood that something is wrong. She could recollect what she had studied in her geography class back in England 2 weeks before she come to England for a vacation. Means before coming to Thailand for vacation, she had studied back in England about the tsunami. As she saw the seawater rising and forming whirlpools, she recalled what she had seen in her class. It was a video of a tsunami that had hit the Hawaiian island in 1946. The teacher also told them the causes of tsunamis, which can be earthquakes, volcanoes, and landslides. So she was understanding that what was happening. As soon as she realized what was happening, she started shouting at her family to get away from the beach. Her mother later said that she was referring to some earthquake under the sea and she got terrified and uncontrollable, means her behavior was uncontrolled by her parents. Penny said she did not know what a tsunami was, but seeing her daughter so terrified, she could anticipate that situation was grave, means something wrong is going to happen. She was understanding. Tilly's parents took their daughters to the hotel's swimming pool to get away from the beach. A number of tourists also followed them. Those who followed, they were saved. Then they saw great waves coming after them as if it were the whole sea that had come out. It appeared that the whole sea was coming towards them. Penny screamed for everyone to run out of dangerous way. They took shelter on the third floor of the hotel building. And the hotel building survived three tsunami waves, means three big tsunami waves collided with the hotel building, but it survived. She further added that they would not have been able to come out alive if they had been at the beach. She was understanding. People were also understanding that because of Tilly only, they were safe. The Tilly Smiths later got the chance of meeting other tourists who had lost their entire families during the tsunami. All credit to Tilly and her geography lesson that they were forewarned, means informed someone of possible future danger, means he had understood that what was happening. Tilly later retold the incident to her classmates in England. She informed about it to her classmates. It is believed that prior to the gigantic waves entering the coast of India and Sri Lanka, wild and domestic animals knew what was ahead. This is because they ran out of dangerous way to somewhere safe. A few eyewitnesses gave a first hand description of how elephants ran for higher ground as they screamed. Flamingos too left their low lying breeding grounds. Zoo animals ran into their shelters and no amount of temptation was able to bring them out. Even dogs refused to go outdoors. Means there were many cases that were showing that animals had understood this disaster beforehand, because they were very less number of animals were noticed recorded death. It is well known among people that animals are intuitive towards the earth shaking, means they understand before the human understand about uh, earthquakes. Some experts are of the opinion that they can hear or feel earth's vibration in advance because they possess enhanced acute hearing abilities. That is why they can perceive an approaching disaster a lot earlier than humans. It is quite obvious that we cannot say surely that animals are intuitive and can sense the disaster early on, but the evidences quite point towards it. Fact says that gigantic waves of the Indian Ocean took 150,000 human lives, but not many animals were reported dead. Means animals, very less animals were reported dead as compared to humans. At India's Kudalur coast, where the waves took the lives of around 1,000 people, animals like buffaloes, goats, and dogs were recovered unharmed. On the other hand, in Yala National Park in Sri Lanka, 60 visitors got taken away by the water, while no animals were harmed except two water buffaloes. A point to be noted here is that Yala National Park serves as a home to a large number of animals like elephants, leopards, and around 130 species of birds. In fact, people present at the Yala National Park reported seeing three elephants run away from the Pentangala beach at least an hour before the waves come in. Sri Lankan gentleman who lives on the coast near Gale said his two dogs would not go for their daily run on the beach. They are usually excited to go on this outing, he said, but that day they refused to go. And most probably they saved his life also, the gentleman's life also. So these examples tells that animals were knowing about the this hazard. So this is the story and this is the summary. What had happened, what are the different brave persons who had saved their lives and other lives also. So this is the description and the summary part. It deals about the different stories of the different persons who had lost their family members, but they were saved. The last part of this lesson talks about animals, that how they were able to manage themselves to stay safe. There are some thoughts of scientists also, that they are having sixth sense, but they are not sure yet. Finally, they thought that how the animals were able to manage to stay safe themselves. Now, coming to some questions and answers of this exercise. Here are some short answer type questions. What is a tsunami? When did it hit so many countries and sea coasts? Do animals get foreknowledge of the tsunami coming? So there are some examples that we read now. These questions are from the different stories. Who was Ignatius? Why did he put his television down on the ground from table? How did Sanjeev lose his life? What had he done? What is the view of some experts about the animals? What some experts says about the animals as they are reported dead in less in number? How did Tilly Smith save her family from the deadly waves? What Tilly had done? Yes, next is when the tremor stopped, what did the family members of Ignatius do? Who was Sanjeev and how did Sanjeev sacrifice his life? How was Meghna saved in the tsunami? Introduce us with Alma's Javed and her family, the introduction of Alma and her family. When Alma's father felt the earthquake, what did he do? How was Alma's family killed in the tsunami? How she lost her family in the tsunami? How did Tilly react when she realized that a tsunami was about to rush upon them? How was the reaction of her mother? What happened after Tilly and her family left the sea beach? Do animals have sixth sense? Some experts say that they are having. Give some examples that show that animals sensed about tsunami and could save themselves. Some examples it is being asked. So here are some examples that tells that they were able to understand about the disaster. How was the Sri Lankan gentleman saved by his two dogs? He told that their dogs were refusing to go on the beach as usually they are very excited, but that day they were refusing. This way he was saved. Give a brief account of how the animals saved themselves when the giant wave hit India and Sri Lanka. What the animals had done, what were their activities, their behaviors that time before the disaster. And this is the last question. What happened to Almaz and her family? And finally, what happened to Almaz and her family? So these are the questions. I think this will help you out to understand the story properly. Thank you.